Hey everyone, it's Kris with Reformed Grognard here with your middle of August Kickstarter rundown. I thought we'd start with tabletop, RPG, and accessories for this particular one. Starting out, we have the ready-to-play storage for miniatures. All of these are Kickstarters ending in the next 2 weeks, so there are some other ones out there that I think are really interesting, but they don't end for at least 2 weeks, so they'll be in the next video. So everything here should end in about 14 days. This one ends in 17 days on September 3rd, and it is just a old school MDF laser cut chest. I guess not really old school because it's all brand new stuff, but it's interesting. They are only at $580 of their $1,200 goal, so they're about halfway. I think it's cool. I like how modular and stackable the whole setup is. I think it's really weird that they show them on their sides like that. I guess it's to show that stuff doesn't fall out, but it makes for really odd choices in photos. But I do think that the idea is really neat. I love the stacking modularity of the mini trays with the custom cut foam inside. I think that's a really cool way of doing it. And for a fairly reasonable price, like the standard price on this is $7 for a mini tray, $8 for a custom one. So they're pretty reasonably priced as far as all of this is concerned. It looks like they've got it pretty well designed. I really like the custom inserts with the tokens and the minis for like Zombicide. It's sort of, just an insert for the box without the box, but I do like that it's sort of designed to be almost displayable as well. I think they look really nice. If you're somebody that's got a lot of minis that you pack around to places, I think this is a neat option. Next up is Dungeons and Lasers, which I've seen on a lot of the YouTube channels I follow. They sent out a bunch of testers on this, and these are super cool. They're pressure molded, nice heavy duty plastic, and they come with a bunch of different terrain options. They also come with pets, which I think are adorable. I think it's kind of a funny selling point considering how prominent they are on the page. They're at 131,000 out of 40,000, so they're obviously doing just fine, and they end on August 27th. The cheapest point you can get in on these guys is $40, and that gets you a pretty good pick of stuff for the most part. That actually is just the companions and mimic miniature. The starting pledge, I was wrong there, is actually $100. But these are not STL files. These are fully printed, molded, ready to rock and roll. And the cool thing what they do with them is that the $100 pledge gets you the core set of your choice plus 3 extra rooms of your choice. And that sounds doesn't sound crazy compared to a lot of other terrain sets you've seen. But once you see how much you get for that $100, it becomes worth it. So they have different themes. They have a fantasy and sci-fi theme, and there are unique themes within the themes for those as well. As you can see here, they're all stackable. They come with staircases, little add-ons for walls. The plastic is very durable. It looks like it'll take paint really nicely. Look how big they are. Okay, so let me find the core set here. So the core set comes with enough to make this much of a room, which is pretty significant. I mean, you got 5 decent-sized rooms plus some hallways. You got the ubiquitous dungeon grate going on there. The sci-fi core set is about the same as far as layout, and I really like some of these, like the doorway hall tops and stuff in the sci-fi one in particular. Then they have a torture chamber, and these are the other rooms that you can choose in addition to the core set. So they've got a torture chamber, they have an engine room. The Hall of Heroes is a fantasy one that's more of like an epic Nordic look. And each of these comes with enough to make these 2 little offshoot rooms, basically. The cell is really cool looking, very alien looking. The Warlock's altar is a lot more like the epic Satanist chamber. And look at the bookshelves on the walls in there. I think it's really neat. I believe they have a library one in here that I'm in love with. Maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong. Haha. But anyway, it's a really easy assembly. They're all on sprues. You cut them off. They've got these little connectors that lock the floors together, and then the edges of the walls just click in. It looks really interesting. It's got a lot of customization stuff that you can mount on the walls. The dogs are cute. I actually really like the custom pets. It's got an otter with keys and dogs, and I think they're neat looking. I like how cartoony they are. So, okay, here we go. Dungeon Master set is $99, and you get to make that much of a dungeon for $100. Plus, you get to add any 3 of the expansion rooms. So you get 207 pieces for $100, including any unlocked stretch goals. For twice that, you can make a massive dungeon. Plus, you get 7 of the add-on rooms. Like, the amount of stuff you get on this is just a fantastic deal. I'm super broke and I can't afford it, but I wish I could, because I think that the value for the money on this is great. I've watched a lot of the reviews that I've gone past here, like Black Magic Craft, and they've gone through and like played with them, banged them around, and they look like they're very well built and designed. Like, they look like they lock in together. They're modular, so they're easy to swap around. I don't know what all of this level 4 stuff is. It looks like this is the oh, these are their stretch goals that they're in right now. So they've unlocked like fantasy extra bits and just, chambers and ruins and things, which is pretty neat. I do like that they have so many different things, like this weapons thing that may unlock before they finish. Really cool stuff. The stairs are pretty reasonably priced. You get 4 of them for $12, which is pretty good. They have some fun little extra rooms that you can add on for $20. But they're just really interestingly designed, and I just think that for just a simple basic dungeon setup, $100 is a great deal for these guys. So that one is called Dungeons and Lasers, and it ends on, sorry about that, August 27th, and I think it's really neat. Next up is one that I think is more gimmicky, but I think is interesting. It's called Cursed and Blessed D20 Dice. They're at $12,000, so they've hit their goal, and this ends on September 5th. It's kind of silly, but it's kind of fun at the same time. It is a set of dice with embedded products suspended in the middle of it. The Cursed die has Graveyard and Crossroads dirt, and the Blessed die has iron filings and salt. Kind of neat. Kind of silly. They claim they're balanced. I don't know if I buy that necessarily, but from a gimmick standpoint, it's kind of cool. It's $20 for the 2 of them. It's kind of neat. I like it. I will not be getting it, but I think it's a cool idea. Next up, I am in love with this one. It's called Dungeon Craft. Build your own battle maps. So this is a spiral-bound book with over 1,000 pieces of a map inside. And you are literally cutting them out and laying them down on the table to create locations and events and encounters. I think it's brilliant. I think it's a very clever thing. The art in it's super fun. They're at 124,000 with 6 days to go. This ends on August 23rd, which is my birthday. So the starts at $30 for the book, which is a great deal as far as I'm concerned. The only difference between them is that the other one has a D20 and a few other little things. But look at how smart and simple this is. You get your battle mat, you throw it down, and then you use these book pages to create encounters. They've got roofs, they have tables and pillars and just forgot the word, sarcophagi and coffins, and they've got both indoor, outdoor, and city terrains. I'm not as huge a fan of the character stuff. That doesn't do much for me. But it's a neat idea. I feel like they would be a lot of work to cut out. But the stuff that they have in the main thing is just great. I love the idea of these treetops in particular, because you can see the terrain I get that for a lot of people it's not terrain because it's there, but it's got that theater of the mind balance between modularity, transportability, and price. I mean, $30 for that much stuff is a great deal, and it adds just a little bit of a for that theater of the mind thing. And they've done a couple of expansions. They have a Hell and High Water companion books, which is clever, and you can get all three for $55. I do believe High Water and Hell are both stretch goals that have been unlocked, and so they are coming later than the other book. But it's super cool. I think it's a really clever idea. I think they've done a great job with it. Next up is one that I've backed, the Carniverse, which I think looks really fun. They've done great. They're at 4,500. This is a Jurassic Park inspired skirmish game where you're literally fighting dinosaurs. It's just fun. It's really reasonable. I only backed it for $1 right now because I don't have the funds on there, but it's $8 US for the retailer version, and then the actual PDF copy is $12, which is a great deal. It's got a bunch of character types. It's got independent skills. It's just a fun rule set. It's open model, so there's no minis you have to buy. You just play using other characters and other dinosaurs and stuff that you have. But I think it's a really cool, fun concept for a skirmish game. Who doesn't want to fight dinosaurs in a junkyard? I mean, that's pretty cool. And the art's really fun in it. I think it looks really nice. So anyway, that's Carniverse, and that ends pretty soon. It ends August 29th, so it's got 12 days. Next up is World of Italtis, which is an RPG setting for 5e. They're doing well. It's at 23,000 with 7 days. It also ends on August 23rd. This one's $35, I think, for the pledge for the PDF copy. The hardcover is $75, but you get all 3 of the books for $75. This is a beautiful looking world that they've created here. It's got some just absolutely excellent old school oil painted looking art by Mitchell Malloy. The world itself is really interesting. It's got some slightly steampunk-esque stuff. There's this magical cataclysm that's happened. It incorporates fairies and humans, and it's just really interesting. I think the books look really nice. I love the design on them, and it's just a fun setting for 5e. I actually think this looks really, really cool. They've unlocked a few things like a DM screen and new books and more content. It's close to 500 pages at this point now with all of the books combined, and it's just gorgeous looking. They've got 4 or 5 artists working on it. They've done a couple of other themed world books previous to this, so they know what they're doing. It's really cool. It's spelled Aetaltis. Aetaltis, I guess is what it is. But anyway, it looks really cool. Next up, we have some interesting encounter stuff going on. First off, Realmsmith has made a Kickstarter to expand their adventure boxes. And all of these that I'm bringing up here are really for DMs that are looking for not as cheap options for gaming. Everybody's stressed. Everybody's got less time than they used to. And all of these next couple of Kickstarters, ironically, that are all ending within 14-ish days, all are designed towards streamlining that procedure, giving you an adventure, giving you the background, giving you some accessories to make it a little more fun. Realmsmith in particular has gone pretty over the top. These are the guys that want that luxe experience without having to do anything for it. Not only does this box have all of this stuff in it each time, but each box that comes is contained adventure in it. I believe boxes start at $100. Oh, it looks like the first box runs in at 70 on here. And the cool thing about this is it's designed to have the self-contained evening adventure all in one box. The box actually folds out into a DM screen that's got specific stuff with decals to specify that one. It comes with a siren soundscape. It comes with a candle that I didn't make, so it's clearly not as good, but still probably all right. It's got little fun little things. These are all paper crafts that it comes with. So you build an inn, and then it's got bones minis to populate the inn. It's got really cool stuff, and if you had the money to buy out the entire adventure, I think it would be genuinely awesome. It's called Realmsmith. They've been doing boxes for a while. From what I've heard, their adventures are pretty solid as well. But it's a cool idea. Of any of like the mystery boxes, this is one that I definitely approve of compared to a lot of the others. Next up is Out of the Box Encounters from Nerdarchy. I follow these guys on YouTube. They clearly have a following. They're at 225,000 and counting as we watch. These guys end on August 18th, so they end really soon, like basically as soon as this video comes out. But if you want in on it, it's a great option. These guys know their stuff. If you've watched their videos online, they're fun to watch. It's just a couple of old school D&D guys, and they've got some really interesting encounters in this. I've seen a few of the things. I've downloaded a couple of the things that they have available. I don't really care about their dice that much, but I do like the uniqueness of them. I actually think they're a little hard to see with the bicolor and the numbers the way they are with the Norse Foundry stuff, but they're cool looking. Norse Foundry makes great dice. But I just really like their encounters and maps that they do. I think they look really cool. They're pretty reasonable. And I like the guys that created this. I support them just because I think they're awesome. But they do have some great art in there. They've got maps and color features on most of their encounters. So they're really neat. They've also got some contributors from other things in there, including Daryl T. Jones and a few other guys that I know in some capacity. So that one, you get it for $40 for the hardcover. You can get the PDF for $20, and then there's some other stuff too. But it's cool. I think that one is definitely my recommendation there. The next two are both basically the same type of Kickstarter. There's Beyond the Copper Doors, and this one is at $1,402 with 4 days left. It ends on August 21st. And it is a full adventure, including STL files to print the locations, the characters, the environment, and the enemies for the adventure. I think it's really clever. You get a PDF of the adventure. You get STL files for all of the characters, the NPCs, and the monsters in the game. You also get the dungeon that it takes place in. You get the encampment stuff. It's really cool. Like, you can buy the stuff for beyond that as well. Like, I think that their art style is really interesting. It's a little stylized, it's a little old school, but I kind of love it. Like, I really like the characters in it. I think the dwarves are super fun. This is all from Ill-Gotten Games, I think, is doing this. Yeah, Ill-Gotten Games is doing this one. They've done 16 other Kickstarters. They're based in Bellingham, Washington, and I just think that it's a fun idea. It's a cool little adventure. It's $25 for the module and all of the 3D files. So if you have a 3D printer and you want to like all-in-one adventure, $25 is pretty sweet. They're ironically running parallel with the ones from Danny Herrero here, which is a little higher end. It's doing it's at 99,000, so it's got a lot of backers on it. This one ends on August 29th, and again, it is an all-in-one adventure that they've done with new creatures. You get the STL files, you get the map files, and you get the PDF. And that one is, again, $25 for the minis and the terrain, or $50 to get everything, and that includes stretch goals, additional 3D props, character sheets, terrain, everything. So it's a little more expensive, but the minis are great. There's goblins and owlbears, and I've seen a couple of the actual owlbears on this one printed, and they look great, printed and painted up. But you can get a ton of stuff in this for the price, like $50 to get all of these like different owlbears and wolves and thieves and dragons and terrain. Super cool. The trees all have removable canopies, so you can be a dead tree or a lush, like, verdant tree. It's got some cool scenery. So between the two of these, like, they're both really good deals in their own different ways. Like this, I love the bulkiness of the barrels and the treasure chests, and I just think it's a really cool idea. Both of these guys are doing good stuff. I actually think that Beyond the Copper Doors is suffering a little bit in comparison just because they're up against something so similar with a much broader scope to it. These guys clearly have a lot more oomph behind their campaign than Ill-Gotten Games does, but I think they're both equally worthy of your attention. I think they're both really cool. So that is the RPG and tabletop world. Now let's move on to board games, and two games that I have supported and I have met and talked to both of the creators of. First off, Burgle Bros 2, The Casino Capers. This game, this might be my top most anticipated game for a long time. Burgle Bros is one of my favorite co-op games. I think it's super fun. It nails the character and personality of what it's looking for, that mid-century heist film. And Tim Fowers created this. He does really great games. He's got Goldsberry back doing the art on it. And it just looks amazing. This time it takes place in a casino. So it's still got all the same great art in it, but they've added a couple of new modes. Every thief has their own gear kit now. The cool thing, so it comes with neoprene playmats that fit in the box that look like casino floors. All of the art's just very stylized and gorgeous. And here's the cool thing that they've done with this. So the casino is on multiple floors, just like Burgle Bros was, but it's just 2 floors for a casino. But the cool thing is that they've arranged it with game trays so that the box, which has a very 50s aesthetic, I love the color choice on this, folds out, pops open, you take out your stuff, and you create a dual floor location with the box. I think that's such a fun, clever concept. So cool. They've unlocked a bunch of stuff. This is doing really well. I think it's his best Kickstarter so far. They've already unlocked a couple of new finale scenarios. There are sealed envelopes in this with different scenarios and kind of almost a campaign mode. Look how sweet they all look. I love the art in this so much. Goldsberry does such a good job. This is one of the new locations, the pool. I love his visual aesthetic on these, and it fits Fowers games so well. So I'm all in on this. I've pledged all in on this. It's going till September 5th, so that's after we've done Salt Lake City, so hopefully I can stay all in on this. Regarding my Kickstarters, I ended up having to drop both Trudvang and Aetherfields down to $1. Just couldn't justify staying in on those. I did actually end up inadvertently being all in on Gatefall, even though I planned on dropping that one to $1. I just didn't think it ended as early as it did, so we've got that one coming. Next up is Sleeping God by Ryan Lockett. Once again, Sleeping Gods, sorry. This is an open-world storybook game. It's doing exceptionally well also. Both of these guys are right there in Utah. I've met them both at SaltCon. I've play-tested one of Jeff Beck's games with Fowers, and I've been next to Lockett at every single show. His booth has been within like one booth of mine every single time we've done that show. They're both great guys. They're both really soft spoken. Ryan Lockett does all the art. He did all the creation stuff in this. His wife does the music. The soundtrack on this is gorgeous. I'm in on this. I'm not all in because they have a super deluxe version, but I did get the version with the expansion. I will hopefully be able to stay in on this, but it does end on the 29th, which is fairly soon. This game looks beautiful. He's using the same Atlas style that he's used for Above and Below, but in this you play a crew of 9 members. It's 1929 and you're on a steamship tooling around this mysterious world of islands. And there's all sorts of monsters, minotaurs and leopards and jaguars, and you have to keep your crew healthy and rested and fed. You got to keep the boat up. It just looks so fun. I've seen a few videos of this, and I actually saw some of this being playtested at SaltCon, and it looks awesome. I am so excited about this. It looks like kind of a lighter, easier setup experience to what I was hoping to get from Gloomhaven. And they've got some add-ons that are really cool. Like the soundtrack is... It's $10 is a great deal for a digital soundtrack for this. Her piano music's really cool, and like it's got metal coins of the coinage. He's gotten a bunch of like stretch goals to expand the game. They've added more weapons and log sheets. The miniature's now painted. It's got like this cool interior upgrade that's got everything separated out. So you're getting a lot of there, especially with this dungeon expansion that they're unlocking right now. So anyway, that one is Sleeping Gods. I recommend it. Next up is Beerland, which is a drunk Candyland, basically. They're doing really not strong as far as this is concerned. It's a party game, and it's a party game that's basically Candyland with drinking rules. And I have this up just because I think the art is interesting, and I think it's an example of how to not do a Kickstarter, because they tell you, yeah, we know how to play Candyland. You don't need this many animated GIFs to show you how to play Candyland. What you need is... It's also weird that this actually shows a snippet of their video that they've GIFed on it. Oh, where's the player? And that's weird. Anyway, I feel like this is a game that was very half-assed, that actually had some potential. Like, I love the little Candyland figures with the beer steins. I think the art on the board is really cool, and the idea of playing a really simple game with fun party game attachments to it is clever. But they don't showcase any of that, which makes me think that they've either not had any of them developed into it, or it's not as developed as they should be. But I do think the idea is clever. I think of drinking games, drunkenly wandering around a path and doing party game shortened and like truth or dare style stuff would be kind of fun. But it's a wasted opportunity. Next up is On the Rocks, speaking of drinking, and I think this game is doing it right. Unfortunately, they're not doing as well as I expected them to. They're at $23,000 of the $30,000 goal, and they fund out on August 22nd. The game itself is $55, which I think is pretty reasonable for what it is. I think that the art is beautiful in it. I think they did a great job with the coloring and aesthetic in particular. This is from Pentree, this is the first Kickstarter they've done. And maybe this was an ambitious game that they should have saved for their second project or something. I don't know. I think it looks really fun. It's 45 to 90 minutes. It's obviously for drinkers, ideally. But it is sort of a potion explosion style game where you are making different drinks using marbles. You each have your own player board, and they're all like a die-cut double layer board. I think it looks really fun. I actually think this would be a really fun little game to play. I like their little lemon markers, and their board layout's really cool. and this is kind of how the full layout is on it. There's a mixing area. I don't know. I think it looks really fun. If you're into that type of thing, On the Rocks looks like a fun little game. I think it'd be super fun to crack a martini and play On the Rocks. We'll see if it happens. If it does, I will definitely put it on my to-play list. Next up is a game that has been on my I should play, but I don't want to. But my complaint is the same complaint everyone else has, and that is Dungeon Degenerates. They are on their third printing, and this is just old school weirdo art. And it is repulsive in its beauty, and I just don't know how else to put it. I think that these guys nail this aesthetic so perfectly, and it's just not for me, and I wish it was, because I've heard really great things about the game. But my god, is it a feast for the assaultment of the eyes. I just can't control how well they nailed this game. I don't know if I'll ever play it, but I want to. But man, it's expensive. It's like $100 for the game. But it looks really cool in its own way. I understand that people don't want to play it because the art doesn't appeal to them. I am on the same page. The only reason I haven't played Terraforming Mars is because I don't like the art in it. But this... man, I would really like to play this, but it also looks like something I would have to play before I could justify buying, because the art is just... It's perfect, but it's so off-putting at the same time. Like, look at the minis. They look just like the ones I used to collect back in the 80s that were, like, bought at the thrift store. They're just so perfect. They've nailed the aesthetic on these so well, and I love it for what it is. I just don't think I'll ever own it, but man, it's cool. So I kind of also question their existence on Kickstarter for this third printing here, frankly. I think this is just purely an advertising thing. They're at the point now that they don't need to be on Kickstarter for a third printing of a game that doesn't seem to do much different with it. That said, they're from Portland. The fact that this weirdo old school art exists in a game that's from Portland doesn't surprise me at all. Finally, I have Adventure Tactics, which is a great looking game. It also ends on August 23rd. I've seen playthroughs of this game, and it looks really fun. The art's really stylized. It's simple. You're playing characters who progress through different characters. Like, you can become a rogue or a wizard or a fighter, and you can kind of fantasy life in board game form, honestly. If you've played that game, that's one of my wife's favorite on the 3DS. But it looks fun. It looks a little simple. The tactics aspect of it, like the board itself, is fairly small, so you're basically playing small form skirmishes, which is cool. I feel like this would be a fun game to just pull out and play. I think it's like a 45-minute game, but it looks neat. I love the character art and design in it, and it's doing really well. It's at 92,000 right now, so it's unlocked a bunch of stretch goals, and I would definitely recommend it if it's up your alley. And that is my Kickstarter rundown for the middle of August 2019. Some fun stuff in here. As of right now, the only things I'm still in on is Carniverse, Burgle Bros, and Sleeping Gods. But there's some other really cool stuff. I'm particularly excited about the Dungeons and Lasers thing. I'm definitely going to keep an eye on that and see if I can pick up a set at some point down the road here. Anyway, thanks for watching. This has been the Reformed Grognard. If you'd like to support me or our channel, you can go to patreon.com/deeplydapper, and that's our Patreon account there. Or you can go to Deeply Dapper Games and buy something from us. We've got our shop there with enamel pins and art and all sorts of fun stuff. We make handmade soaps and candles if you want to enhance your gaming experience with some fragrances. Or anything else, really. We also have some podcasts over there if you want to listen to them. The Reformed Grognard itself is going to have a podcast soon, but for now we do have the 3D Pod Casket, which is an 80s and horror themed one, and Robot Kraken, that's all nerd stuff. Anyway, thanks for watching. May you live in interesting times.